Hi, my name is Charles Carson. I'm Associate Professor of Musicology and Ethnomusicology here at the Butler School of Music.
Well, thanks, Charles, for coming in. And I know this is pretty cool because you're with the Butler School, but you're also with Austin Opera, right? To some could say you're almost the face of Austin
Well,
Opera.
I
You
don't know
do a
about that.
lot. You do a lot with Austin Opera. People that go to the opera would might know you.
Yeah, I would say that people, especially those who come early and hear the talks, but I'm the scholar in residence. Now I've just been reappointed just recently, the scholar in residence for the Austin Opera. So I do all the sort of, not all of it, but I participate as part of a team that does a lot of education outreach, but also, I mean, the thing people would know me the most for is that I do the pre-concert, pre-performance talks for many of the performances, and I also do a lot of media for their online channel. So I do what we call opera overtures. So before every opera, I kind of do a virtual, you know. Some people can't make the traffic in Austin. Some people can't make it in time for the pre-performance talk. So you can watch it. You can watch it in the Uber on the way over. How about that?
Cool. So half the time you're sitting in this seat.
Yeah, yeah. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
and this is a beautiful setup. And I'm gonna think about the two camera setup because right now I do a single setup. So
So great. So tell me a little bit about how this collaboration happened because this is just so cool. I've got two kids who they both love opera. So my daughter just went to see Queen of Spades.
yes,
She absolutely fell in love with it. Just blew her away.
beautiful.
2 years ago we saw the Snowy Day right in
Beautiful
Houston, and it just once again just blew them away. So we love it. So when we saw this going on in the libraries, we're just like, this is amazing. So and part of the main important thing is the funding is a
Yes.
lot of where you came in because without funding it's hard to do stuff like this. So tell me
Yeah.
how it started.
I'd really like to shout out the College of Fine Arts, in particular our new dean, Ramon Rivera Severa, who has been very proactive in community outreach, and our associate deans who've been working with him, Recca Monroe, and we're given this opportunity to apply for funds for outreach in the community. And we really are thinking about town and gown kind of things. What are the ways in which UT can really collaborate with its local community? A lot of the stuff that we do are kind of with our constituents, right? We have like a core people that we interact with on campus, not just in Busan, but across campus. And what we want to do is think about a broader sort of way of public engagement. So we're looking. This is why this program is looking at. We go around across the city to different locations and different branches of the public library. So when the opportunity came up here in the college for this funding, Lily and I did. We bumped into each other and just said, "Hey, can we do something?" And I did what they have trained me to do. I wrote a lot. I wrote a lot, and Lily had great ideas. So I just we put them down on paper and we put them in front of the deans, and they liked it. And I think it's an important collaboration between the flagship school of music here in town, as well as the professional opera company in town. And we have a great opera center here, of course, and we really want to have a pipeline between UT and increasingly professional opportunities for our students. So anything we can do, if we can do that in the face of public outreach and community engagement, especially bringing in new communities that maybe don't feel like opera is for them. And I speak to this first person. I mean, I did not grow up as the kind of person who you think would end up in opera, especially end up in front of people talking about opera. Never on stage. I played in pit orchestras for a long time, but never on stage. That's for Lily to do. But these opportunities sometimes one kid in 1,000, but for me that's enough. Yeah, that's enough. If we can grab one kid and just kind of turn them around and make them think, wow, opera could be for me, then we've done our job.
Yeah, and talk a little bit how did you become that 1 in 1,000 kid?
Yeah, so I grew up in Houston. I think I have the benefit of a really, really good opera house there as a kid. I grew up in Houston, and I went as my mother said, I went to a school for precocious kids. So I'm very energetic and very project-based. So they put me in a school that did a lot of outreach, a lot of kind of community stuff. And one day, HGO knocked on our door at school and said, "Hey, here's opera." And I was like, "Okay, this is cool." I had a soprano sing the Queen of the Night aria from Magic Flute. And then the next day, they put us on buses, and we went to see the Magic Flute at the Wortham Center. And it just hit me. It just was. I was sitting there. I was 8 years old, and it just hit me. It was like just like sparkles over my head is how I describe it. And I'm like, wow, it's like. And I told my teacher the next day, because I talk to my teacher a lot. I talk a lot. It's my job now. But I told my teacher the next day. I said, it's like something is happening on stage, like a play, but then like the orchestra's whispering into my ear, like other things at the same time. And all that together, it was kind of transformative. Not from a musical family, was not a musician, just a normal little kid. And then I started asking my parents, like, can we go to the park when they do the opera? Because they would have on TV, like, Sundays at the park. And then when I got older, can you take me to the opera? And my working class parents were like, what? We don't have tuxedos and gowns. We can't go to the opera. But I managed to convince them. And then even in high school, it'd be like my friends, like, what do you guys want to do this weekend? I'm like, we could go downtown. I think there's stuff going on down there. And then, eventually kind of tricked my friends to going to the opera and the symphony. So it just kind of clicked. And it's not something, obviously I teach opera here as part of my appointment in musicology and music history. But I don't teach opera performance, but I teach opera history. But in terms of my research, this is really something that I see as a kind of a guilty pleasure, kind of like but it's something I care a lot about.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was in high school when I heard my first opera, and it just instantly, like within the first 3 seconds. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people who may have never have heard truly what like non-amplified sound sounds like, it is just, for certain people, it can just change your life. So it's important to just give your kids that opportunity.
It really is, and I think it's a little bit like, it's like a buffet. Like arts are like a buffet. And you're going to go to a buffet, and maybe you're one of the kind of people who likes everything. Maybe you're one of the kind of people who's already tried everything there, and it's boring for you. But most of us are going to be the kind of people who like, oh, I like that. That's familiar. I'll do that. But that's new, and I've never had it, and this is a great opportunity to try it. So this is really how we're thinking about these outreach programs. The programming is one we set up, and each day has a different theme and approaches opera from different perspectives, whether it be the singers, the orchestra, the set designing, the movement and choreography. We bring this all kind of together, but it's the opportunity for a kid who's never seen that dish at a buffet before, right? They can walk in and they can try it, and maybe it becomes their favorite, right? But you won't know until you put that opportunity in front of them. And for many people, that opportunity, it may seem insurmountable. Like the opera doesn't feel like a place for them. I should say that I'm very much an opera activist. I always wear sneakers to the opera. I mean, I've been to the opera all around the world. You name it, I've been there, and I've always worn sneakers. And you can check my Instagram for my sneakers at the Met series. But a big part of that is when I was teaching. I was teaching first generation students like myself at University of Houston downtown, and I worked out to take the kids to opera. They have, again, trying to give that same experience. And these are freshmen in college. And I had a student who was a great student in class, really always engaged, really loved music, not a musician. These are non-musicians. And, I got tickets for the class, and we were all going to meet in downtown and go together. And the student pulled me aside and said, I'm sorry, I can't go to the opera tonight. And I was like, oh, well, is there any issue? I mean, you have to work, you need a ride or anything. He says, well, I can't afford to rent a tuxedo. And I was like, whoa, man, we have failed this person. That we have set it up to be such a high standard just to walk in the door. And at that moment, I decided that I don't really dress up for the opera anymore. So I like to wear one piece of flair. So I'll wear a tie, or I'll wear a sport coat, so come as you are, as we say.
Yeah, it's amazing the barriers we put up. Like with symphony music, it's amazing how many people will tell me, I won't go because I know there's sometimes you're not supposed to clap, and I just don't want to be that person to lean. It's like, oh, that's why you won't go.
I know.
Like, oh.
And I tell you, the concert etiquette is, these are kind of old school things now. We really don't follow that as much. If someone claps between movements, no one's going to kick you out of the building, right? I would say that one of the problems I think we encounter a lot with new people to the opera is that they don't feel like they can clap when they're supposed to. Like if someone sings, if soprano really is bringing down the house, it's your duty as an audience member to let them know, right, that they're doing an amazing job and they're affecting you, and they certainly appreciate it. This is where the term showstoppers come from, right? That the
Oh, that's
audience
interesting. Yeah.
reacts so strongly that they have to stop the show. They're waiting, and you'll see the conductor there with the baton in the air, waiting for the fade, and then boom, downbeat. And those are moments that are magical, and it's something that. As a performer myself, not an opera singer. I want to put that on the record. Not a vocalist, but as a performer myself, that's something that we certainly appreciate. And I think I also have to address what I think is the biggest hurdle for a lot of opera people, or a lot of people trying to go to the opera, besides perceived cost, which we can definitely talk about that, is language. And a lot of people.
Let's talk about that. Yeah. Well.
So a lot of people think that, I don't speak French, German, Italian, Russian, Czech, there you go, English, so I can't go to the opera. I won't understand what they're saying. I think there's a couple of things that I can say really quickly to alleviate that. The first one is that we're gonna broadcast, like translations in real time right in front of you. So we have what's called super titles, because they're above, and you'll be able to get a real time translation for anything. The second thing is hearing lyrics sometimes are difficult anyway, right? In any genre, right? If you're thinking of like rock and pop, there's something there too. Even going back to the 19th century, people would buy little books with the words in it, right? So they could follow along in real time, because it's going by so quickly. And that libretto, right, is what we call the lyrics for opera, right? That little book, I mean, that's even native Italian speakers would, spend a few pennies and have this book. So it's understandable that might feel that way, but I think that's more of a messaging problem on the part of us than a reality on the part of the experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as a kid, even with pop music, if you'd buy like a Nirvana CD, and then you would open the little booklet to say, it was a great song. What did he say?
What did he say? Yes.
What was this? And another thing, I when people tell me that too, is with operas, the plot moves slowly. Yeah. It's not like, you're going to miss two lines. It's like, what is going on, right? They tend to really live in the emotion.
Yeah, and, it's a little bit of a punchline, but I think it's singers love it, of course. But if I'm singing and the line is "I love you," I'm going to say that a couple of times, right? Right?
Yes.
And of course the singers are really going to love. They're going to really milk that the melodies and stuff, and that's what we love about it. So you're going to follow along. You're going to be able to follow it along. And again, in the hands of masters like Puccini or Verdi, it's paced and crafted in such a way that the characters and it's all working. You can follow it. You can watch opera on mute. Don't do that. We work too hard. The singers work too hard. But you can follow the structure of it because it's so well put together in a dramatic sense, right? You can follow. So yes.
And what would you say to someone who maybe has grown up just listening to popular music, and they say, I listen to hip hop. Mm-hmm. There's just no way I would like that.
Oh wow.
Like because you're kind of unique in this way, right? Because yes, you're an opera activist, but you also teach classes that dive into all types of music, right?
Yeah. So here at UT, I do teach a hip hop history class, and it's I think a very popular class. I think it's an easy class to be popular because the people come in half the time already liking the thing you're teaching. I also teach contemporary experimental music, and that's a different experience when they walk in. But no. I would say, and I do say to my hip hop students and to my band orchestra choir students who are new to opera, I say this is a tradition like any other tradition, and it has rules and it has conventions and it has the way in which a student will come to me and they'll say, I don't know anything about music. My non-majors, Dr. Carson, I don't know anything about music. Should I drop this class? I don't want to fail this class because I don't know anything about music. But they know every Taylor Swift lyric. And I'm like, you know a lot about music, and that's a lot. So it's the same thing, the same way in which you have to sort of learn, if you will, the language of a Taylor Swift or a Beyonce, and the language of how their voice works, of how the genre works. It's the same thing for opera, right, or for any other genre for that matter. You are going to learn those, and the best way to learn all the Taylor Swift lyrics is to listen to a lot of Taylor Swift. So I would apply that to opera if you want to, right?
Yeah, and so talk me through this like library series. What parents can expect. should they listen to opera beforehand? Should they just come in cold? What advice do you have?
This is a series that is really being pitched for people at all levels. So I'd say if your household is a diehard opera household and y'all sit at home on Friday night gathered around the Victrola listening to, okay, then we're going to have stuff for you. You're going to see stuff, learn stuff. You're going to get a behind the scenes peek on aspects that you don't know. But if you're a newbie, if you're a person who the only thing you know about opera is Bugs Bunny, you're going to get something out of this too. It's really, our teaching artists are amazing. They're amazing with kids. Lily has planned curriculum that really speak to people at all levels. So if you're a parent, there's no advanced preparation at all that you need. I think it's something that it's a fun day at the library, right? When we're bringing together the library, we're bringing together the Austin Opera, we're bringing together the Butler School of Music and UT, and it's just going to be a great day. There's air conditioning. That might be enough to sell it right there. But there's no prior experience. But one thing I hope will happen is that it will sort of plant a seed for future experience. So please, when you bring your kids, come talk to us, come talk to the teaching artists and go, what should I listen to now? I really liked that thing you did. And then we'll be happy to send you a link or whatever and put together a playlist. Actually, we will put together a playlist to share for after this.
How cool would that be?
So then people can go home and oh, that song that they sang, I really liked it. And that's I think the important thing to note is that this is really meant to whet your appetite. We're going to have some opportunities to be able to win some little prizes and stickers and fun stuff, including
stickers. Oh wow,
well, stickers! Stickers right there.
Yeah.
I taught elementary.
Are a big deal. Yeah.
I taught elementary. That's like the currency,
yes,
right?
Yes, yeah.
But we're going to have opportunities for kids to win some tickets too to come see our open rehearsals that we have for that we set aside for the public and for especially for schools. And we'll bust in a bunch of schools and we'll give away tickets for kids who are interested in seeing that and bringing their families for the first opera experience. That will be a little less. It'll be a little more chill because it's going to be for kids and for the public schools. So that's a nice little way to sort of temper yourself, right? Put your toe in the pool. Is this going to be something I like? And then if you want to show up, wearing gowns and tuxedos, that's up to you. I won't. But, you do you.
Will you be wearing sneakers?
I'll always be wearing sneakers. But you have to be careful because if you ask me about them, I'm going to talk to you about them. So
okay.
But yeah.
And so, a lot of times people think of library series as like babysitting.
Yeah.
But this is not babysitting. They're going to interact with some true professionals.
Yeah.
Talk me to some of the people that they will interact with.
So, first and foremost is our own Lily Guerrero who's going to be really spearheading this. But we have teaching artists from across the city, people who've studied all over the world and come in. We're going to be doing. We have a cellist. We have a trumpet player. We have a flautist. A flautist is going to be coming in. Pianist. So we have a lot of people who are going to be coming in to allow you to see different angles. And it's not really babysitting because it's highly interactive. And I think for the parents too. This isn't. If you've been into any of the Austin library events, they're very interactive, right?
Yes.
So you're going to see parents singing along with kids and everybody and people coloring and stuff. And so it's going to be that kind of an event really anchored by world-class performers who we're very lucky to grab and be able to, they carve out time. We were on a meeting this morning with someone who's like, well, I have this production I'm doing and okay, fine. Can you squeeze in? So we're these people are going to be sort of,
Can you squeeze in the Austin Library?
Can you squeeze in?
Yeah.
But this is I think it's very important for kids to see that there are real people out there doing this, that, on stage, there's like this sort of, always we say the fourth wall. And you sort of imagine yourself well, these people are larger than life. They are on stage. That's their job, is to appear that way. But there's a lot of work. There's a lot of passion that when you're in the room and someone is doing it, it's better than recordings. When someone's doing it live right there in front of you, it's amazing. And this is the kind of access we want. We want to kind of break down that fourth wall a little bit and allow people to experience firsthand kind of what this means. And all thanks to our teaching artists. We really, really appreciate all their work because they're they're not volunteering, but they're doing well, way above what they should be asked. We asked them to come in, oh, sing something, and then they're like gung ho. They're rehearsing, they're tightening things up, and then when you see them interact with the kids, it's just so great. It's just so great.
That's amazing. So, and it's great that Austin Opera is so behind this. I mean, it's Butler School. It's wonderful too, but we're an educational institution. It's great that Austin Opera is fully behind this.
Yes, I mean, I do want to shout out Annie Burge and her team, and then our collaborator Andrea Ochoa, and they provide so much. I mean, they know how to like connect to the communities that we don't connect to here. They know how to, again, they have a roster of artists that, we can sometimes only dream of. They're not going to return my phone call. They're traveling around the world, but the Austin Opera's calling. Okay, let me see what they want to do. So I really appreciate all their work, and Andrea in particular has built an amazing education and outreach program there. We were just at a meeting last week when we saw this sort of overview of the kind of stuff they've done just in the past year for education and outreach, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to go into these schools. It's a lot of work to prepare the curriculum to go into these schools, to prepare the artists to work with them. It's a lot of work to be in the room with 30, 40, 50 kids, and it's amazing when you see this work. And for me, it's like I said, it's very close to my heart because somewhere in that crowd of kids is me, and I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure that if they hadn't shown up that day, where would I be today? So it's something I want to make sure that we appreciate, and I'm really happy that they agreed to collaborate with us on this project, which hopefully the first of many. That's the plan. We already have some wheels turning for some future collaborations too, looking forward for a lot of future endeavors.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just, parents, like even if no matter what it is, whether it's opera or anything, if you give the chance to put your kids in front of people that are the best in the world at something, it's a win-win. Like your kids will come away with something.
It's something I always like to say. The people who are on stage are the tip of the iceberg. All you're seeing is the tip of the iceberg, right? The hundreds, thousands, as we say, 10,000 hours, right? It takes to get on stage and sing, Carmen's Habanero or whatever. You hear this all the time, but there's so much subtlety, there's so much power, all this work. So when you're seeing these people on stage, right? You're missing all the work that it takes to. People talk about a gift or something. The gift is the real gift in music is being able to sit in a practice room for 12 hours at a time to get it right. And I mean, I know people who have sort of gifts, and that's amazing. But the people who are out there doing the work, that's great. So to be next to those people, it's beautiful art, beautiful music, and it makes art very accessible, which I think is very important, especially in today, right? Today, I think it's very important to make sure that we understand how powerful art is and how much it matters. But also, I think it's inspirational that when you hear the stories of our teaching artists and when people like Lily share their story, these are real people who made real decisions with their life and worked very, very hard, step by step sometimes. You don't always see the outcome of what you're doing today. And our kids need to see that today is just today, and you're setting up tomorrow, and it's like Lego blocks, right? You're just kind of putting the pieces together. And I hope they get that out of this.
Yeah, and it's completely free, right?
Completely free.
So
yeah, and the schedule is published online at the Austin Public Library, and also
we'll put it in the link below.
We'll put it in the link.
Yep.
And you can check out all the socials for Butler School and for Austin Opera, and whether we have the full schedule there. And it's again, it's all over the city. So even if you're thinking, I don't know, there's one near you. We purposely spread it out so that it's hitting parts of the city, especially parts of the city that, quite frankly, UT hasn't hit that often. So we wanted to really look at those communities, and I hope to see you there.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Charles.